Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris, and I'm one of the Shortcuts creators and educators here. So for this morning, I'm going to be squeezing in as much as sort of humanly possible into our management webinar. Now, if some of you have joined me before, you'll know we usually have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation at the beginning, just sort of introduce us into everything, and a little bit of housekeeping. So we're just going to run through that just very quickly now. But for this morning, I have got a lot to get through, so I want to cram as much in as humanly possible. So just before we get into the really good fun stuff, so before we begin, the duration of this webinar, it's going to be approximately 60 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I will try and keep it to the 60-minute. I appreciate some of you are joining me on your day off, and I know some of you are joining me in between clients, so we're going to try and keep it to 60 minutes. Of course, my microphone has been switched on, whereas everyone else, you've automatically been muted. And your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. Your questions will be taken either via the Q&A or the chat box, but I always say, if you've joined me before, make it live, make it interactive. If you do want to unmute yourself and have a little chat with me, that's perfectly fine. Or if you prefer to pop it in the chat box or drop me an email afterwards, that's absolutely fine to do so as well, whatever you feel most confident doing. So as we said at the beginning, this morning, we are going to be running through sort of what we refer to as management training. Now, what that really means is, ladies and gents, is running through things that we would almost be expecting our managers or our owners to be setting up or having control over. So we're going to be running through a lot of configuration items. We're going to be looking at a couple of our favorite reports, ones that I couldn't live without. We're going to also be looking at things like a basic commission structure just to get the ball rolling, but we are going to squeeze as much as we can into it. So before we jump into the fun stuff, I know a lot of you are very familiar with yourself. It's always great to have my regulars on board, but if you do want to chat with me, feel free to drop me an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. That's education@shortcuts.co.uk. We will always have our further online classes. These can be found at shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes. That's shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes. Now, if you've not already subscribed to our social medias on our Instagrams and our Facebooks, you will know I'm very active on there at least once or twice a week with my top tips and frequently asked questions. So do drop a like on there, do drop a share, make sure you are following on there for top tips and handy things coming your way. So our handles for Instagram are instagram.com/shortcutsuk and at the same time on facebook.com/shortcutsuk. So do make sure you're following me on there to see all my top tips, videos coming up, and I'll be advertising all the latest and greatest things we've got coming in Shortcuts. So that is it, ladies and gents. The first thing I'm going to do is open up my Shortcuts Fusion system. So bear with me just 2 seconds. Excellent stuff there. Perfect. So first thing we've done is open up our Shortcuts Fusion system. Now, as we said, we're going to be going through a lot of management bits and bobs for this morning. Now, the first thing that we should be doing, backing the system up. Now, yes, 99.9% of you will have automated backup to our Shortcuts servers, but we always say, as a safety net, you should be backing your system up to an external device. This can be just something simple like a memory stick. Why do we do this? Of course, if something happens, you've then got it on an external device. You can give our emergency line a call. We can transfer the license over. We can get you up and running super duper quick. Now, of course, you will have access to cloud and everything like that, but we do say, make sure you're backing the system up at least once or twice a day, and especially when you finish caching up or anything like that. Or if you want to make any major changes to your system, or if you want to implement any of the changes we're about to go through now, I always say, give it a little backup before you make any changes. For those of you that have had one-on-one training sessions with myself, you will know one of the very first things I do when I come onto your machine is back it up as a safety net. So now we know why we back up. How do we back up? Well, it's very quick. All we do is we go to Tools on the right-hand side of our navigation bar, And then underneath, we just click on to backup. Now, once we've clicked onto this, you can choose a location for it to go in, but I would always recommend clicking advanced and browse and just choosing your external device, anything like that. And then all we do is we just click backup now, and then yes, and then away we go if you've got that device installed there. So just make sure you're just giving yourself a manual backup there, just in case anything goes wrong. Okay, excellent stuff. What we're now going to do on the right hand side of our navigation bar, we're going to click on to setup. Okay, so in the bottom right hand corner, we've got a little icon that says setup. And then from here, we're going to click on to configuration. Now, configuration, ladies and gents, is really just about configuring the back office side of things, the back end side of things. Now, there are a lot of things we can change, and I'd only really recommend making some sort of real in-depth changes if you feel confident doing so. But I'm just going to run through the basic configuration changes. And these are all going to be things over the next hour that I would say will greatly impact your business for the better. That can be things such as reporting, stock, employee performance. It's all going to have a positive knock-on effect moving forward. And these can just be very simple little things. So over on the left-hand side, the first thing we're going to look at is our discounts. So why do we add in discounts? Now, I see a lot of salons that when they add in a discount, they literally just deduct the money off the client's bill. That works perfectly fine. There's no issues in doing that. But of course, if we don't have a discount reason, we've got no paper trail. So if we're doing a blue light discount or a green light discount or a VIP or a student or OAP, whatever it may be, make sure we add in that discount reason. If you've ever done marketing with myself, it's always worth having those discount reasons on there. It's so we've got that paper trail so we can backtrack. So once we're in here, all we're going to do is we're going to click the new icon. And in the reason name, we're just going to type in the name of that. And we're going to add the percentage or monetary value next to it. We can now see at the top here. To the right of this, we're now going to add in the discount. So we click the drop down arrow. If it's a monetary value, we can choose fixed amount here. That can be things like £10, £20, £30, whatever it may be. But underneath, you'll also see we have some percentages. But what about, for the sake of argument, if there was a percentage that wasn't here? So for example, I wanted to do my student discount. It wasn't going to be 10%. No. It was going to be 65% for whatever random reason that may be. You'll notice we do not have a 65%. In the top right, we can click on to add default, and we can just simply add that default percentage in there. You'll then notice it now appears just here. So I'm going to add my 10% discount in there. That will make it all automated. Now, underneath, this is where we're going to say what the discount can be applied to. So, can my student 10% be applied to products, services and series, sundries, and gift certificates? Now, I only want this to be applicable to my service and series. So I'm just going to untick either side. And that just gives me a bit of a safety net. That just lets me know that that can now only be redeemed against services and series. So it stops the accidentalness of being applied to a product which we don't want. So we've added a little bit of background work in here to really help ourselves down the line. Now, underneath, we've also got this tick box here that says default amount cannot be changed at POS. Default amount cannot be changed at point of sale. So we have said for this morning, ladies and gents, my default amount is going to be 10%. If I tick this box here, this will stop that 10% being changed. So any of my sneaky employees that might want to change it from 10 to 15, as long as we've ticked that box there, that will stop it being changed. And then we're just going to click save and then just click done. Now we may just have to give a quick restart to our shortcut system, but that should now pull through it very quickly. So we add that discount reason in to ensure we've got a paper trail, we've got our reports to see why we do that. So then all we do when we then check a client out, exactly the same as before, we can click either the discount icon here if it's going to be off the entire bill, or we can use the discount column here if it's only going to be off one service. We can click onto it, and on the left, you can choose that reason, and you can see it's all automated. And then we just click done, and that will now be taken off. So it's quick, it's simple, but it's very effective moving forward. Later on, when we take a look at our reports, we'll be able to see a particular report to see exactly how many discounts were used and what they were used against. So we can see how well that discount is working for us. Excellent stuff. So continuing in the same fashion this morning, ladies and gents, we're going to go back to setup and we're going to move to configuration. And then over on the left-hand side, in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click on to general. And towards the top, we're going to click on to security. Now, security really determines what your staff will and won't have access to. Now, if you've ever created a brand new employee, you will need to assign them a security level. Now, if you've created that brand new employee, like I have done for Nicola, you will notice she is under unassigned. So again, if you've created that new employee, you may have noticed that with the pin screen at the beginning, that new employee doesn't appear. So we would always make sure they are assigned the correct security level. To do so, we literally just click onto it and then just drag to the relevant security level. And I've now popped my new employee Nicola under my employee level. So we know we've got our security levels. We know we've got owner. We know we've got manager. We know we've got employee. And it kind of makes sense. Owner has the greatest level of security. Manager has the second. Employee has the least. But what about if we want to create our own security level? Maybe one that has higher access than employee, but less than manager. Maybe, for example, assistant manager. Well, in the top right-hand corner, we can click on to new, and we can add a brand new security level. Now, ladies and gents, this is not to be confused with styling level, senior, graduate, principal, director. This is our security level. So what we can now do is promote that employee to that new security level. So we've now got 4 security levels. And as we said, owner's got the most, manager, assistant manager, our new one, and then employee. But what level of access do they have? What can that employee see under owner? What can that employee see under manager? Well, right at the top of the screen, we're going to click onto access. On the left-hand side, you'll have your security levels. And as we click onto them, you'll notice they change. So we should, as managers, directors, owners, everything like that, we should really be keeping hot on this level of access, ensuring our owner level has the correct level of access, ensuring our manager, ensuring our employee has the correct level of access, because this, of course, determines what our staff can and can't see. So we need to make sure we are hot on that, making sure our staff can see exactly what we need them to see. Over on the left-hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to click onto data privacy. This is often overlooked, but this can have quite a big effect moving forward. Now, I'm sure moving forward, we're all aware of something called GDPR, really to do with data privacy. And it is always worth just having a look at this very quickly. Now, ladies and gents, data privacy is us telling our clients what we do with all of their data. So at the top of the screen, we should have a data privacy officer email. Now, what that means is if a client requests any data we have on them, that can be their name, their address, color notes, anything like that, they can request that. So we need an email address at the top. So we can just pop that email address in there. Now, essentially, it doesn't really matter what email address is as long it is manned, as long as we are keeping an eye on it. Underneath, you can then go ahead and adjust the information. Now, underneath, we've also got the data privacy policy text. A top tip for you this morning, ladies and gents, I would recommend you read through this and grab the relevant legal advice, but also print it out, laminate it, make it look snazzy, pop it up somewhere in the salon, the spa, or the barber shop, okay? Just in case any of your clients come through the door and they say to you, Chris, what are you doing with all of my personal data? How are you handling it? We can then point them in the relevant direction. So I'd always recommend printing that out. But at the same time, once we've done that, what we can also do is on the left-hand side, which leads beautifully on to this icon just here that says clients. Now, clients is all of the client data that we garner. This can be over the phone, face-to-face, or using online CICs or custom CICs, using the tablets or iPads to grab that digital data. Now at the top, you can see we have some occupations. Now this is really to grab better data and better understanding of our clients and our demographics. So what you can see, we've got our occupations. We try and keep these fairly broad. We've also got our age groups. And again, it's all a way to grab a better understanding of our demographics and our database. You'll also notice we've got our referrals, another client, advertisement, and so forth. Now, as we go through this, this is all fantastic for our marketing. If you've ever done marketing or targeted marketing, it is worth having this data here. But we do also have the fourth tab along the top is new client layout. So, ladies and gents, what is new client layout? Well, it is this here. As soon as we go ahead and make an appointment, when we click new client, it is this information here. This is the new client data, and we can adjust how much information is visible. So again, if we go back to where we were, under our setup configuration, general and client, and our new client layout, we can adjust. The first column is the quick column. That is what I just demonstrated very quickly there. That is the quick column. That is the information that will appear very, very quickly. So it makes sense to have a small amount of data here, shall we say, such as first name or last name. But you may also wish to have the email address visible. And if it was me, I would also have your referral method available. Why would we have the referral method? Well, we've just looked at the top here at our referral methods, and there is never a better time to work out how a new client was referred to you than when they are a brand new client. There's no point waiting till they're an existing client or been with you for 10 years to say to, Mrs. Smith, how did you find out about us? So make sure we have that referral method on there as well. As we scroll down, you'll notice we have down the bottom, data privacy policy display. I would always recommend ticking that for both quick and detailed, and accept the data privacy policy display. So of course, the policy display is what we just looked at together there. And accepting it means they can accept it. So of course, once we've printed it out, we've popped it in a salon. If they miss that when we're checking the client out, if they say to you, Chris, what do you do with all of my data? You can read them the policy display and they can accept it if applicable as well. So we're giving yourselves the best possible outcome in a salon there. And at the same time, with that new client layout, we're getting as much data as possible. So again, why do we need that data? We've got their email. Well, if we're doing email marketing, of course, it is free of charge. If we've got their referral method, if you want to set up a referral campaign, that is where that information will pull through from. You can work out how they were referred to your salon. We're giving ourselves as much information as humanly possible. Down the left-hand side, again, we're going to click the arrow to the left and we're going to click on this option here that is often hidden. This is not our schedule, our 9 to 5. It is our schedule reasons. The reasons we may or may not be in the salon. So for example, we've got college, we've got day off, we've got holiday, and we've got sick. So if you want to schedule your schedule, if you want to input your schedule as accurate as possible, we would need as many schedule reasons as possible. Bank holidays, maternity leaves. For those of you that work in different salons, you can put the different location in there. It is a way to make your schedule, but your appointment diary much more accurate. So I'm going to click on to new, and I'm going to pop in here, other location. Okay, so when I'm working at my other location there. Now you can also pop a little color ID on there as well. And then we've got these 4 columns to the right here. We've got active, payable. In 15-20 minutes time, we're going to take a look at a basic commission structure. If we tick this box, that means it will calculate the commission because this schedule reason is payable. Maybe if it's unpaid leave, of course, you don't want it to be payable. We've then got allow bookings. Allow bookings is most used for online bookings. If I was to tick this box, that would allow clients to book online with me. And allow walk-ins for those of you using our barbershops and our walk-in manager, you may wish to allow the walk-in manager to be set up there. And then all we do is we click done, and we may just have to give a very quick restart to our shortcut system for that to pull through. So that's a few things we should be looking at in the background, back office side of things there. And last but not least, we just created our schedule reasons. So, of course, we should be creating our schedules. Now, I understand you may be using your front of house staff, or your staff may even be taking care of your schedules. But I'm going to show you a top tip when it comes to scheduling a rota. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools, and then we're going to go down to Schedule. Now, you can see I've already got a long scheduling for myself here. But I don't have a scheduling for my new staff members, Stacey and Nicola, and I don't have one at all for Amy. So you might be thinking, okay, then do I have to do it day by day for an entire year? No, that's going to take forever. We don't want to be doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to pop Amy's schedule in, and we're going to put a week rota in first, a 7-day rota, and then we're going to copy that rota. And at the same time, we're going to use our brand new schedule reason, other location. So I'm going to start by popping in Monday, 9 to 6. We can adjust the schedule there. If it's okay, I'm going to assume at this stage the majority of you watching will know how to input a schedule, but drop me a message at the end if you're not too sure. And then on a Tuesday, it's a normal working day. But on a Wednesday, I'm going to say Amy works 9 to 5 at my other locations. So in the top right, that's where those schedule reasons pull through to. So as you can see, we are being super accurate. There's that color swatch just there. And I'm going to continue with the rest of the schedule. So I've got a full week in there, and Amy does that schedule, that roster, week in, week out. Now, we don't need to do this day by day. That's going to take forever. We can copy and paste this for the next sort of 19 years. So in the top left, you will have this icon here that says Mark Cells. So we're going to click on to Mark Cells. In the column of our staff member, we're going to click onto Sunday, whether you are open or closed. We're going to click onto Sunday. And then we're going to go down to Saturday, again, whether you are open or closed. It is now highlighted the entire week. I'm going to right click, schedule until, and I'm going to schedule this for the entire year. I'm just going to choose it to end on Sunday, the 28th of July, 2024. It tells me where I've selected to. We then just click yes. I'm going to unmark the cells just so we don't start copying and pasting all over the place. Unmark the cells, and guess what? You can see for the entire year, we've copied and pasted it. Very quick, very simple, but very effective. Now, if you're going to do this yourself, ladies and gents, please be aware if you've got any future holidays booked in, you will override them. So just make sure, as we did at the very beginning, make sure you do a little backup and just make a note of those holidays if you are going to override them there, because that will happen. Excellent stuff. So that is our schedule reasons and our scheduling. And you'll see when we look at our reports in about 15-20 minutes time where that will pull through to. It's all about working a lot smarter than working a lot harder. It will make your life a lot easier moving forward. And that leads us beautifully on to something called RPTS categories or RPTS categories. Now, this unfortunately often gets overlooked, but it has a massive knock-on effect. So RPTS categories. So we are going to go to Setup on the right-hand side of our navigation bar again, and we're going to go on to Services. Now, right down the bottom of the screen here, we have RPTS category, reports categories. So what are these and what do they do? Each of our services should be linked to a report category, meaning our reporting is a lot more accurate for those specific services. So if I click onto RPTS category, you will see I've got my report categories. Now, please bear in mind, ladies and gents, we can only have 10 report categories, okay? You can have as many service categories as you like, but you can only have 10 report categories, okay? And you can see I've kind of spread it out, and it does make sense to make these as fairly spread out and as unique as humanly possible. So what I mean by that is I haven't just put styling and coloring together and called it hair or hairdressing. I've split them out to make them unique. Think of it as like branches of a tree. I got styling, I got kids, I got men's, I got coloring, I got eyes, I got waxing, facials, tanning. In here, I could have manicure. Underneath, I could have pedicure. Now, remember, ladies and gents, we can only have 10 report categories. So if I then started offering massages, I no longer have a report category for massages. So if that is the case, I would then combine certain report categories that share the same subject. So for example, rather than having both a manicure and pedicure report category, I could combine them together because they are essentially nails. So I could then change this and call it mani and then pedi, or I could just call it nails. And then that would free up the one underneath, and I could then have massages. So why do we do these report categories? For two things. Each of your services should be linked to one of these report categories, making your reporting much more accurate to see how many services have been done. But it also pulls through to targeted marketing, which is this just here. If you've ever done targeted marketing with me and you want to see what services your clients have or haven't had done, you will notice there is a categories icon. It pulls through those service report categories just there. So it is almost imperative if you are doing targeted or transactional marketing, we have those RPTS categories. So how do we link them to our services? Well, if we expand a service category on the left-hand side, and for those of you that know me very well, you will know Chris says it's all, I don't know in the third person there. You will know I always say it's all in the details. Okay, so as I always say, it's all in the details. So what does that mean? If I was to select a service here, down the bottom, we have an icon that says it's details. It's all in the details. So if we click onto that there, for each individual service block, down the bottom, we've got these report categories just here. It would always be worth just making sure it is linked to the relevant report category. So once we run that report, we can see how many half-head foils we've done. If this is not linked to a report category, it will not calculate how many half-head foils we have done. So it's always worth just moving forward, ladies and gents, clicking on the service. It's all in the details. Now, while we are here, ladies and gents, for those of you using our mobile guest app and our online booking, we need a patch test prompt to appear. when a client makes one of those services online, we will need a patch test prompt to appear. So how do we get the patch test prompt to appear for our colors, our highlights, our eyelash extension, our eyelash tints? How do we get that patch test prompt to appear? Well, again, it's all in the details. So what we would do, select the service, click the details icon, and towards the very bottom of our screen here, there is a tick box that says need visit details. It is the process or the function of ticking this box here for need visit details. That means when this appointment is booked online or via the mobile guest app, a patch test prompt will appear. So it is always worth just making sure while we are here that we've got all of that ticked moving forward. Okay, so that's a lot of the backup, and that's a lot of the back end, the back office, and a lot of setup there. So you can see a lot of it is what I call stepping stone. It has a detrimental effect on other things. So we want to make sure it is all set up absolutely perfect. I want to make sure your reports are set up accurately. I want to make sure that the target marketing is working absolutely bang on. So what we're going to look at now is commission. Now, what I'm going to set up, ladies and gents, is just a very basic commission structure. Some of you might have something slightly more complex. That's perfectly fine. We can always discuss this at the end. But something just very quick, just to dip your toe into, just to introduce you into the way of setting up a very basic commission structure. This commission structure I'm going to show you is going to be exclusive of tax, and it's going to be what we call cumulative. That means I earn the commission once I've hit my base rate, not off of the entire amount, but I'll give you a demonstration of that in just a sec. But please don't worry if you look at this. If you want something slightly more complex, we can offer that, but I will show you just how to set up a nice and simple commission structure. So what we would do is, again, go to setup, and we're going to click on to employees. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner, you can pop your base salary in or hourly rate. This information will all pull through to the commission structure. So you'll notice for each of my staff members, I have inputted my hourly rate. And of course, 5-10 minutes ago, I set up my schedule. So I know my schedule is going to be completely accurate. And I've done exactly the same for all of my staff members. So we can now use this information to create a very basic commission structure. And it's hidden under this icon here that says schedule. Once we've clicked into schedule, we can click onto the commission icon at the center bottom of our screen. At the top here, this is where you will create your individual commission schedules. If you need to create a brand new one, all we do is we click onto new. And I'm just going to call it Stylist Commission. And then we just click done. So I'm going to say from £0 to £1,000, that is, let's say, the base wage. This stylist commission won't earn anything on service, and won't earn anything on retail, and won't earn anything on sundry. As soon as we go over my £1,000 threshold, we just pop a penny in. That knocks us into the next threshold. And then we're going to say 1,500. And from there, we're going to say he'll earn 10%. And on retail, he'll earn 10%. Moving forward again, we're going to go from 1,500 and a penny to 2,500. And from there, they will earn 20%. And then from there, they'll earn 15% on retail. Now, to reach the infinity, so for 2,000 and a penny, to go into infinity, just put something like 10 million. And that basically means there'll be no limit to the amount of commission they can meet. So from there, we just click done. And then the commission schedule has been modified. Do you wish to take the changes? Yes. And again, we can go back into commission and just make sure that's set up there. And we can see any other commission structures that have been set up. So now what we need to do is link that commission structure to our employee. So again, under setup and employees, We're going to choose the relevant employee. And to the left-hand side, once we've inputted their hourly rate or their base salary, you can then hit the drop-down arrow here and choose the stylist commission. From here, we're going to click Save, and then we're going to click Done. So now we've set up our commission structure. Remember, that's a very quick, very simple, very basic one to get the ball rolling, and that's all exclusive of tax. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how that report will work to be able to track commission and track wages, making your life that little bit easier. So how can we then encourage our employees that little bit more to meet their targets, to meet their commission structure? Well, we have something in a cloud called cloud-based targets, which we can use to set our employees up with a weekly target. And this is all set up via the cloud. So for those of you that are using the cloud, or for those of you that have got your employees using the cloud, we can set up a weekly target that is completely live that they can track. And it's very quick to get set up. And is a fantastic way for your employees, whether they're employed or self-employed or not, a great way for them to take control of their column. So from here, ladies and gents, I'm just going to digress ever so slightly, and we're just going to move into our cloud appointment book so our staff can have a look at getting set up with targets. Perfect. So once we are in our cloud appointment book, if you're not quite familiar with how to get to the cloud appointment book, it is just a web browser and pos.shortcutssoftware.com. pos.shortcutssoftware.com. We can now have a look at setting up our weekly targets. So in the top left, we're going to click onto menu, and we're going to choose the second option down, employees and roster. Over to the right, we're going to click onto targets setup. Now you can set a target up for the business as a whole. Now, depending on your security level within the cloud, if you're down as site manager, you will only have access to the business target. If you have the employee role, which the majority of your employees will be set up with, they will only be able to see their own target. So you can set the target up for a business as a whole, and you can also toggle whether it's going to be inclusive or exclusive of tax for the business or each individual employee. Now, when you fill out these targets, ladies and gents, you do not have to fill out each field. You can just do net sales, which is just service and retail, or you can do service or retail. You do not have to do each individual one. When you set this up, we just click onto done. Now, when you click onto done, it's a little bit confusing. Nothing actually changes. You just click onto done and it is automatically saved. So then how do we track our targets? Well, right at the top of the screen, once we click onto the targets icon just here, this is where you can configure or view the targets for a specific employee or the entire business as a whole, or for a specific date range. Now, by default, it will go to the current week. Because it is target based, you can only track 2 weeks before and 2 weeks into the future. You can also choose a specific employee. And then once we've configured the information, we just click onto view. And we can see we have the information just here. And it is a very simple line graph. It's very simple to ensure our staff are keeping an eye on it and tracking it in between appointments. So on the left-hand side, we can see my target for service sales for Amy hasn't generated anything so far, unfortunately, not doing too well. So we are 100% below our target. The target for Amy was £500 service sales per week. So as we look at our line graph, you will see we've got the days of the week just down here. And what it does, it's very, very clever. It works it out for you. So what do I need to be making each day? So we can see yesterday I was £143 below target, but it's encouraging me, keep going, £143 below target. Tuesday, I'm now £214 below target. Wednesday, tomorrow, I'm going to be £286. And you'll see it calculates it all for me. Basically takes my weekly target of my £500 and divides it by the week and calculates each day for me. So it takes the guesswork and, of course, the hard work out of it there for me. Now, the dashed grey line is, of course, my target. That's what I need to be hitting each individual day. That's what it calculates for me. The blue line down the bottom, Amy's not done so well, unfortunately. The blue line is the actual amount. That's how much money we've generated. Now, of course, this is the great way to see how much money we've got and how close we are to hitting our target. If we had appointments booked in, it would also show pre-booked. That is the light blue dashed line. That will show any pre-booked appointments. Think of it almost as a forecast. Now, we should be getting all of our staff set up with this, keeping an eye on those targets, because it's so easy for our staff to say, oh, I didn't know what I needed to make today. I didn't know what my weekly target was. I didn't know how much I had left to do. Get them having a look at this in between clients. It's completely live. It's cloud-based. They can be tracking those targets. They can then use it from there to be like, oh, I'm £5 below my target today. Maybe we'll look at upselling a treatment. Maybe we're looking adding on some take-home retail. Okay, we're getting our staff hot and keeping an eye on their targets. Okay, so no excuses moving forward there. And exactly the same way, what else should our employees be doing? So we know they should be tracking their targets, and we've just set them up with a commission. But what else should we be getting our employees to be doing on a day-to-day basis to make our life and everybody's life a lot easier? At the top of our screen, we can click onto our employee profile, and at the top of the screen here, we'll have what we call our KPIs, our key performance indicators. Again, we can use this in conjunction with our targets. We can see how many clients we've seen, how many clients per hour, service spend per hour. It is a great way, again, to keep on top of our performance. What we should also be doing underneath is printing out our day sheet. So you'll notice there's an icon just here that says print. What we should be doing is printing out our employee and client CPC. Why do we do that? Well, it means we are keeping track of our appointments. It means we're not running over, we're not spending time going back to the reception desk, and at the same time, if it's got the client CPC, it will have your visit notes on there. So no need to be going back to the desk, no need to be writing down color notes. We've got it all in our scissor pouch, in our pockets, or at our styling station. We are keeping track. Think of it as a personal calendar. Now, of course, if you do have other appointments booking, just make sure you reprint it out or just update it. But it is a great way for your staff to be keeping an eye on their column. They don't need to keep going back to the reception desk, hogging the reception desk. We don't need to be keeping an eye on printing out color notes or anything like that. Now, if you're like me and you don't like waste and you don't want to be printing out a big A4 sheet of paper and then folding it out, make sure we tick this box just here. Print employee schedule and CPC via the receipt printer. That will, of course, print it out like a receipt document. Much easier to keep at the styling station, in your pocket, or in your scissor pouch or anything like that. But it is a great way moving forward to ensure we're not running behind. Because we know what it's like. We hear it, don't we? They say, oh, I didn't realize I had another client in, or I wasn't sure of the time. Well, we've got our targets, we've got our cloud appointment book, and we've now got our printout of our CPC. No excuses. We should be knowing exactly what we've got booked in for the day. So, color stock. What are we doing with all of our color products? So we've got about 15 minutes left before we get into before we finish, and we've got our reports to go through. But what about our color stock? Now, this is a great way to budget for your color, cost of living crisis, everything like that. We can't afford to be over ordering or under ordering and having to pay the inflated price at our local wholesaler. So we need to ensure our stock levels are correct, and it's a great way to budget for our professional stock. So a shortcuts top tip: get yourself a nice big household bin, pop it in a dispensary area, pop it in a color area. Okay, we're not going to be throwing the color tubes away just yet. We're not going to be throwing away our backwash shampoos or anything like that. Nope. What we're going to do is each time we mix up a color, you can throw the cardboard color tube in the bin, or you can just rip off the tab as long as we can ID the barcode or the color number, anything like that. Throw that in this color bin. Okay, do the same with your tissue boxes, glove boxes, 1,000 milliliter backwash shampoos and conditioners. Pop all of that in there. Make sure that all goes in there. Okay. Then depending on how quickly it gets filled up, you can do this at the end of the day or the end of the week, depending on how quickly it gets filled up. Okay. Now at the end of the day, we're going to take that color bin. Okay. I'd recommend doing it while the business is closed as well, because you might have color tubes and whatnot flying around everywhere. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to main and we're going to go to point of sale. At the top of our screen, we're going to hit the drop down arrow. And we're going to go down to #business. From here, we're going to scan out all of those color tubes, those backwash shampoos, those conditioners, those color tubes, everything like that. Now, not a problem, ladies and gents, if you do not have a barcode, okay, you can manually search for the products. So we're going to click onto the empty gray squares. It doesn't matter who you choose at this stage. We're going to click onto business. And we're going to start to scan those professional products out, those backwash shampoos, those color tubes, everything along those lines. So all I'm going to do, just choose my professional products. What have we got here? And I'm just going to scan them out as I go. Or manually search for them as well. And what that's doing, we're scanning out or manually searching for all of those products, okay? Once we've scanned them all out or manually search for them, what we're going to do is we're going to click Finish Sale in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, what's going to happen here? Two things, ladies and gents. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to update our professional stock, okay? Because we've not sold those products, we've used them professionally. The second thing is you can print out a receipt. You can then use that receipt as your next professional order. Now, of course, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be 99% accurate, because all we're doing there is we are replenishing the stock we've used over the week. So we're only reordering what we've used. We're only reordering what we've scanned out. So it's a great way to budget, because we're reordering what we just scanned out. So it's a fantastic way to budget moving forward. Something I used all the time when I was in a salon years ago. We used it every day for both beauty and hair. It was a fantastic way to be super accurate and ensure we weren't overspending, especially at the moment. Okay, so with just 10 minutes to go, I'm going to show you some of my firm favorite reports we should not be living without. And you'll see a lot of what I've gone through today will have a massive knock-on effect to these reports. So one of the very first reports we're going to look at by going into Tools and Reports. On the left-hand side, I'm just going to expand Appointments, and I'm going to go down to Appointment Roster Analysis. This will show you how productive your staff are. Okay, so as long as we've got those schedules blocked out like we did, working at the other location, day off, holiday, sick, as long as we've got that scheduled in there, my appointment roster analysis will show me how productive I was. So to open up a report, we choose the report, and there will be a description just to the right-hand side. To view this report down the center bottom, we can click onto the view icon, and this will bring up a very small window. This is where we can configure some further parameters within this report. So for example, we can adjust the date range here to be a custom date range. So for example, I may wish to just do yesterday and tomorrow to see how productive I'm going to be. But we also have some default date ranges on the left-hand side, such as current day, current week, last day, that'll be yesterday, and next day, that'll be tomorrow, week, and month. To the left-hand side, we can also configure certain employees using our multi-select tabs. Our multi-select tabs are the 6 grey dots to the left-hand side. Now, also, the majority of our reports will have a miscellaneous icon. This allows you to specify certain parameters, such as showing graphs, definitions, top 10, including tax, excluding tax. It allows you to adjust the report accordingly. We are now ready to view this report. We can click the view icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, this particular report, I would always drill down employee by employee, your employee appointment roster analysis. So in the left-hand corner here, I'm going to choose that specific employee. Now you can see I've chosen myself, and it shows me my rostered versus my booked time. Now, I want to zoom into this report. So in the top left, I'm going to choose my 100%, and I'm going to drop it down to 150. And I'm just going to make it a little bit easier for us. So as we look at this here, I've got my rostered hours. The red section are my rostered hours. These are the hours I'm rostered to work. Underneath, for each day, you can see I was booked out. Now, in an ideal world, we would like to see these rubbing shoulders because, of course, that does mean I was fully booked. Now, please bear in mind, ladies and gents, this does take into account if you have scheduled a task, because essentially that is you being busy. Okay. So as we can see here, I was rostered to work roughly 8 hours, but I was only booked out with customers for roughly 3 hours. But if we want to see this super duper accurate in facts and figures, we've got a little table just down here. So we can see for today, I've been booked out with tasks and appointments for 3 hours, 15 minutes, but I'm rostered to work 8 hours, making me 41% efficient. Now, in an ideal world, ladies and gents, we would be looking for a sort of a 75% efficiency, meaning we're sort of 3/4 of the day or the week or the month booked up. Okay, but remember that takes into consideration both appointments and tasks. So what about then if I wanted to export this report out? Maybe I wanted to print it. Maybe I wanted to send it in an email to my staff member. Well, down the bottom of the screen here, we have an export button. We can click onto that and we can export to a PDF or an RPTS file or anything like that, but I would recommend doing it to a PDF. We can then click OK, and then we can choose the pages we wish to export. From there, once we've exported out, that can be added into an email and printed, or if you wish to just print it out straight away, we've got a print icon just here. So that is our first report. The next report we should be looking at is if we expand on the left-hand side, if we go down to employees, and if we go down to hours by roster type. Now, those roster types, those schedule reasons, we created one ourselves. We called it other location, and that's things such as bank holidays, sickness, day off. So using that background information will make this report super accurate. So hours by roster type is a fantastic way to see, are we having our employees having too many sick days, too many holidays, anything like that. So I like to do this monthly and quarterly and things like that. So let's have a look for the current month. So we can see my list of employees on the left-hand side. And as we look at Amy, for this entire month, we can see we've had 93 hours for normal working, and 16 of those were at the other location. Now, what you can do is if you're not quite sure how many hours your staff should have accrued for holidays and things like that, you can input their schedule, you can input their roster into the DirectGov website, and that will actually tell you throughout the year how many holidays they should have accrued, just in case you have one of your staff members leave midway through the financial year or anything like that. But this report is a great way to look at it and go, oh, okay, well, I can see Nicola, for this month, she's had 28 hours sick already. So we're looking at a good, 3 or 4 days already that she's had sick. It's a great way, just very simple, to just keep on top of things. Too many holidays, too many sick days. Again, we're just going to click on Done now. Now, at exactly the same time, under our employees, we have got our commission and wages report. So again, I'm going to click onto view. So we set up a stylist commission structure, I think we did together, and we linked that to Nicola, and we also had one assigned to myself as well. So you can do this weekly if your staff are paid weekly. You can do it monthly if your staff are paid monthly as well. On the left-hand side, I'm just going to choose my relevant employees. And I'm going to add those across there. And I'm going to input my date range. Okay, so I'm just going to keep an eye on just for today. I'm going to click onto view. And we can see here is my commission structure. So my first column are my wages. So you can see my hours worked for 8 hours and my hourly rate was £8.50. So that gives me £68. That is my wage just there. Now, also we can see my total service. Again, this is all exclusive of that. We can see my total service amount I did was £1,083.34. So my service commission is £8.33. So how does that work? Well, my commission structure was created to say it is 10% over £1,000. So anything over that £1,000 that I made, I get 10% on. So of course, I then get the 10% on the £83. It is the £83 past my £1,000. So that gives me £8.33. We can then add the two together. So my total wages and my service commission, giving me total owing of £76.33. So it calculates it very quick, but very effectively all for you. So as long as we've got that commission structure and as long as we've got the hours worked and as long as we've got the hourly rate, that will all calculate that for you. Now, like I said, I know some of you may be looking at this thinking, I want it set up for retail, but I want to exclude electrical styling products. That's perfectly fine. If you have something a little bit more complex, we can look at getting something created for you. We do have an extended commission structure that we can discuss with you to get that set up. Excellent stuff. So another employee report, performance summary. Performance summary is an absolute given of a report you should be looking at, okay? This basically tells you what your staff have done for each report category, for each RPTS category. As we said with our services, all of our services should be linked to a report category. Without those being linked, this report will not make any sense whatsoever. So again, we're going to have a look for today. And as we look at this, you will notice straight away along the top here, what do we have? We have those RPTS categories. We have those report categories all found under service setup. Now, if those services will not link to a report category, don't worry. The service amount here will still calculate, but it will just not add up from each individual service here. It will backtrack, so don't worry. If you want to go back and just make sure, it will backtrack, but it will not really make sense. It will not let you know where this money was calculated from. It will not let you know whether it has come from styling services, kids services, men's services, and so forth. And this report is an absolutely fantastic way to not only see how much money your employees are making, but where are they making it? Is it under styling? Is it under kids? Is it under men's? Is it under colouring? In case you've got that new employee that says, oh yeah, I do loads of colouring services, I do loads of men's services. This is that report that is going to show you that there. Now, when you look at this, you may notice, for example, I've got 2 clients and I've got 1 under styling, but 2 under colouring. Now, of course, that doesn't add up to 2, that adds up to 3. What it could be, or what it will be, I should say, is we had 2 clients, but one of those clients had both a styling and a colouring service. So they weren't just booked in for one, they were booked in for both there. This report is fantastic to be keeping an eye on what our staff are doing and where we're making that money. It also lets us know, okay, there's room for improvement on the men's services, there's room for improvement on the kids' services, and of course, any other services as well that they do. So we should be tracking this at least once a month. And of course, for it to be accurate, we need to ensure those RPTS categories are all ticked in our service setup there. I've gone a little bit over, but I've got one more report I want to show you this morning, ladies and gents. Value of future appointments, okay? And that is under my business setting. Was it under, under appointments, sorry, not business. Under appointments, value of future appointments, okay? Now, as we know, we've all got overheads. We need to be tracking, are we going to meet our targets? Now, we know we've set our staff up with targets, so we know they should be hitting their targets, but are we going to meet our overheads? Perhaps we're going on holiday and we want to make sure, you know, how much money we've got coming in, or maybe we just want purely a forecast. Value of future appointments is the way to do this. So we're going to click on to view. Now, of course, with the date range for this one, it does make sense to have a look into the future. So I'm just going to look for the next sort of 5 or 6 days. Now, what we can see straight away, ladies and gents, again, let's just zoom in there. We can see the total amount. That is what we're set to bring in the next 5 days. 566, £566. That is my forecast moving forward. Underneath, we can then see what is it split down via. We can see Chris is set to bring in 49% of that value, and that's £279. Stacey is going to bring in 28%, and that's £161. And Nicola is going to bring in 22% at 126. So we can see moving forward, think of it as like a big pie chart. Where is the money split between? So we could be looking at this, and perhaps if it was slightly different, we could be looking at it and seeing Chris is bringing in a fair amount. Stacey isn't bringing in a great deal, and neither is Nicola. Okay, let's grab that performance summary. Let's see where they can improve. And at the same time, maybe want to do some marketing. Maybe we want to let our employees know Stacey's had a cancellation, or we've got our new stylist, Nicola. It is great to sort of stepping stone, as I say. We can see how it can stepping stone and snowball into other aspects of our business. We can then look at this and say, right, we need to promote Stacey, we need to promote Nicola, and we're using that performance summary report we just looked at to say, yeah, we're not doing many gents cuts. Maybe we need to advertise to gents and let the world know Stacey can do gents cuts. Now, I also like this little bar graph just here because I think it's a great way to really draw a comparison. We can really have a look at that there and just, you know, particularly see who's doing the most and who is doing the least. But I think we should all be looking at this at least a good sort of 2-3 weeks into the future, or depending on how busy you get booked up. But it's a great way to budget. It's a great way to forecast. And it can also be used, as we saw, as a great way to market our staff members moving forward. Excellent stuff. So I've gone a little bit over there for this morning, ladies and gents, but that is our essential management. Now, I tried to get as much going in there as possible. A lot of things I certainly would be expecting my managers, my owners, directors, things like that to be doing. And as we saw, it all has a great knock-on effect, but would all make your life that little bit easier. So thank you ever so much for watching and listening this morning, ladies and gents. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop those across to me now. Perfect. Yes, with GDPR, how does a client request their data? Now, it's a very good question. I don't believe it's ever actually really happened. So we spoke about sort of in the first 15, 20 minutes, we spoke about GDPR and data privacy. I'll just pop it back on the screen now. And we spoke about this. So clients can request their data by sending you an email. So yes, good question. How does a client request that information? Well, all you would need to do is if they've spoken to you or let you know in person, if you just go to clients and then who we got on here? This is all a test system as well. So all we do is we just right click on that particular client, and it's the very last option just down here, client data requested. So if they do request any data you have on them, we can see in their profile what data we have on them. It's all things like that, favorite refreshment, physical address. Just right click on them and just do client data requested. And then just get that information across as soon as possible to them. You can email it to them, export it out, or just send it in an email to them, any information we have on them there. Yeah, very, very good question. Perfect stuff. Any other questions for this morning? Excellent stuff. Thank you. Perfect. Yes, so I think that is it for all of the questions. It's always been a pleasure speaking to everyone. Lovely having my existing faces as well as my regulars. So do please make sure if you feel like any of your staff will benefit from this, do get them to sign up. You can always drop me an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. And as we said, do drop us a share, drop us a like, drop us a follow on our social media. Lots and bits and bobs coming up in the future there. But hopefully I'll be able to speak to you all again soon. But thank you Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah. Yep, someone's got a question. Yeah, feel free to pop that across. Excellent stuff. Lovely. So I think that's it for all of the questions. I apologize. I went a little bit over there. I tried to squeeze in as much as humanly possible. So hopefully everyone is able to join me next week. We've got two more masterclasses for July, and then in the next week or so, we'll be sending out our August masterclasses. Got some new ones coming up. Be fantastic to have you all on board. We're going to go into as much detail as possible on those. But as always, thank you ever so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure speaking to everyone. Thank you ever so much for all of the questions. Hopefully, I will speak to you and see you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Take care. Bye bye for now.